Niels Lesniewski is the senior Senate reporter for Roll Call, a newspaper and website focused on the U.S. Congress. Niels, welcome to our program.
It's good to be with you.
So, as Nathan mentioned, this tone certainly much more measured, like we saw him in Davos. This was teleprompter Trump. This was not Twitter Trump. What was your biggest takeaway during his focus on his domestic agenda?
Well, on the domestic side, the repeated emphasis on the MS-13 gang in the immigration portion of the speech, and the involvement of people who are of either from Mexico or from other Latin American countries in gang violence in this country, was really sort of jarring because it didn't match up with what he had been talking about previously. Before that, we thought we were getting a fairly bipartisan speech that focused on infrastructure and other issues, but then there was sort of the hard right turn when the immigration portion came up.
He also equated all immigrants to violence and gang members and crime.
Yes, and it was sort of one of those things. I was in the chamber, and you could tell that people weren't really expecting it who didn't have copies of the sort of what was in the teleprompter in front of them. So I had that, so I knew where we were going, but the people who were all in the visitors galleries and on the floor of the House who didn't know what they were dealing with were really kind of surprised when that happened.
Let me move on to another topic. He made an announcement, or he announced his decision on the Gitmo prison facility. Let's listen to what he had to say, and then I want to get your reaction.
Today, I'm keeping another promise. I just signed, prior to walking in, an order directing Secretary Mattis to re-examine our military detention policy and to keep open the detention facilities in Guantanamo Bay.
A major reversal once again from the Obama policy, and of course Guantanamo in many countries seen as a symbol of torture, a symbol of injustice. What is the message the U.S. is sending to the rest of the world?
Well, there's two things. First, the message is that is this crackdown on terrorism, and that Guantanamo is going to stay open. This had been something that Trump had said during the campaign. In fact, there was a whole conversation, I remember, a year ago about whether or not waterboarding was torture. And what's happened, though, is over the years, despite the Obama administration's insistence that they wanted to close Gitmo, obviously that facility was never shut down. As a practical matter, there was very little chance that Congress was ever going to actually approve the closure. So this was one where Trump gets to some extent, sort of be tough without there being anything more than rhetorical consequences, because we always sort of knew that it was going to stay open anyway.
And Niels, in terms of specific proposals, when you watch this address, there really was only one, and that had to do with infrastructure. Am I correct?
I think that's mainly right. The $1.5 trillion that they want to use on new infrastructure projects, although they didn't have any specifics, and best as I can tell yet, still don't have any specifics on where that's coming from or how much federal money. About the only other thing that strikes me as a specific item in the speech was supporting an effort to allow terminally ill people to use experimental drugs.
He did mention that.
But that's about it. And the fact that we went for 80 minutes and I can come up with one legislative proposal says a lot.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Niels Lesniewski, thank you so much.